I'm Mitchell. That's Brady down below. And we got Josh with us today from Full Arena Promotions. Uh, we're luckily not getting the snow he's getting. Not yet, anyways. Not here.
It's dumping on me here in town right now.
Well, that's sucks to be you. Well, we did talk a little bit before. I think you said you have 14 shows or events. I shouldn't say shows. You have 14 events you have coming up this year. A busy June, July, and August sounds like.
Yep.
So you do not just the derbies, you do the autocross, I believe you said.
Yeah, we do an autocross. It's kind of it's something I started when I started the show, when I started promoting in 2016, we started to do it. It was all like, hey, we got a bunch of cars sitting at home. I says, let's just bring them there and just see what we can do. So we tried a bunch of different things that same day, and we basically raced around some stuff and we bang into each other pretty aggressive, not like banger racing by any
Right.
means, but
Right. That gets out
we're
of
not
hand.
afraid to bump them around. We've kind of backed off a little bit on the hitting, because it does happen, you know, but we tried to back off on it a little bit because people want to save them for multiple races and stuff like that. So it's a good cheap way for somebody to get in and have a little fun. So
Sure.
Yeah.
Is that something that's grown pretty rapidly for you?
um it goes in phases, I don't get like there's some Bajas up to the north that get like 100 cars, 80 cars, and I've never seen anything like that. I think the most I've got was 40, and the Bajas up there, they pay out like their total purse is like $500, and some of them I've paid out quite a bit. Like now, this one coming up in June is pretty big payouts for something simple like that. I think we're paying out 3,700 just for that. We pay all the way back down to 10th, but it's
Sure.
like 1,200 for first, so that's a pretty good payout for just something you can literally slap together in an hour. So
Right,
Mhm.
right. I guess before we get too far, where are you located?
I'm in Battle Lake, Minnesota is where I live, so it's central Minnesota.
Okay.
We get mostly Ottertail County, Douglas, Pope, just kind of around in central Minnesota. I did pick up a show north of the cities in Cambridge, Minnesota, which is about 2.5 hours from my place.
Okay.
But other than that, I haven't ventured out. I mean, I'm not like you North Dakota guys. You have to go 3 hours to get to another town. Most of my
Yeah.
stuff is within a half hour, 45 minutes from the house. So,
Okay. How
That,
far are you
that's
from like Mankato, St. Peter, that area? Old Winter City.
um, Mankato, St. Peter. When we used to go to Slam from here, it's probably about 4.5 hours from
Oh,
here.
quite a
okay.
ways north of where you're at.
Oh,
Yeah, they're south of us. They're south of the
Or the
west
other
of
way
the
around.
city there.
yeah.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
we're
Yeah.
not
The one
very
thing,
far off of 94. We're pretty close to Fargo. So
yeah.
Okay.
One thing, like you said, North Dakota versus Minnesota is such a different derby atmosphere as far as distance and amount of shows.
yep,
Minnesota has 1,000 shows, it seems.
yep.
Every any given weekend, there's 2, 3 shows within 100 miles of each other, it seems like.
Yeah,
Yeah.
there's more than two, three. There's usually like 10 shows within 100 miles of
Yeah, that's
each
what I
other.
mean.
Like,
It's just
yeah,
wild over there compared to over here. There might be 2 shows in North Dakota on the same weekend. A couple times throughout the year that'll happen, but
right,
usually they're on opposite sides of the state.
right.
Everybody's fighting for those same drivers, and there's only two shows.
Yeah,
Yep. You
that's
guys get pretty good payouts there, and I mean, some shows of yours you get pretty good counts, but comparatively, for the amount of money that we're paying, we get quite a few cars to show up, and I don't know how. I mean, when I help these fair boards, I'm in it with the financial side and everything, so I know every expense that's going on and all that stuff. So I don't know how you guys are paying those kind of payouts, but
Yeah, it's
but we don't
crazy.
get we don't get the sponsorships or anything like that. It's like pulling teeth to try and get some people to sponsors, but the derbies around here, let's say 5, 6 years ago were pretty full of drama, and nobody really wanted their name attached to it. And it's getting better, but slowly getting better the more exposure that we get to what we're offering and what the shows are offering and stuff
Yep.
like that.
I mean, as far as the payouts here, I mean, to be honest with you, it's the places that put them on obviously put up a lot of the money, some of the money, but a lot of it is the community where whatever town, this small town is having their derby. It's that the community there supports it pretty heavily.
Yep.
Yeah, right. That's what we don't get like in our area. Like we put on a fairly decent show this winter, and we had good car counts. I think we were down this year. We had 57 this year, but last
Yeah.
year we had 81 cars.
Yeah.
And the community, we didn't get $500 worth of sponsorship from the community at all. And then nobody from the community even showed up, so
Yeah. It's weird.
most everybody in the stands were from a long ways away, so
Right.
it's just totally different than what you guys experience. So
Yeah, we're kind of the opposite. We can get the fans, but we can't get the drivers.
drivers,
We can
right?
get the money. I mean, we're kind of actually disappointed when we don't see 15,000 plus more dollars, on a total payout.
Yep.
Yeah.
This
I mean,
year
we
we're
don't
all the way
have
up to 20,
by the
30
num-
at some shows.
and by the numbers, I mean, we don't have near the driver volume
Right.
that Minnesota. I mean, just if you compare populations alone, I mean, Minnesota waxes North Dakota as far as total people. So take that and factor that by whatever multiplier of those can be a derby driver, and we end up with a tenth of the drivers Minnesota has.
Yeah.
Right. And then, I mean, even in our hole, there's a lot less drivers than, like, say, that St. Peter, Mankato area where, there's a ton of drivers down there and a ton of support for all of them shows, like Full Throttle Promotion. And a lot of them guys do really, really well in their area. So,
Who runs Full Throttle?
Brandon Thomas, I believe.
Okay.
Yeah. Brandon Thomas. Yeah.
Did Stacy Flynn used to run a promotion in that area?
Yeah, he does. He does. Yep. And he puts on a few still, and that's in that southern Minnesota, Iowa area or whatever over there. So,
Sure.
and they get all kinds of support. Like, okay, I know he does I don't follow him really well, but I know he does a pumpkin smash in New Ulm, Minnesota, and there's usually a ton of cars there. So,
Yeah.
Sure. Okay. Yeah, I ran with him one time, and we actually parked beside each other, actually at Winter Slam, and that's the only way I met him or knew him, I guess. And he had
Sure.
said he started doing shows back then. So
Are you still driving at all?
I haven't really drove since 2008. A couple times I hopped in somebody's pre-ran stuff, but I was just too busy with everything. But we actually got a team together, and we're gonna go to Gold Rush this fall.
Okay.
So I'm gonna get back in the seat and see how that goes. So
own stock.
no, it'll be on the qualifying side of the national team. So
Yeah.
Oof.
so if I'm gonna jump in, I just as well go, I guess. So
Yeah. Back in the old saddle.
yeah.
Yeah.
And I was really jumping around with what kind of car I wanted to take, and I talk a lot with Dustin Anderson with 7A Customs there, and
Yep.
him and I BS back and forth, and I've helped him build a few of the cars that he's took to Blizzard Bash and miscellaneous stuff, and I know they kind of want me to take a Ford, a new style 98 to 02, but I kind of have a bucket list, and I have an imp box car right now that I'm gonna take.
Okay.
I have a big block. I used to always run a big block back in the day. They called me big block stock. So I
Okay.
have the pretty hopped up big block 427 that I was gonna take and put that in there because I'm usually a north and south driver or east and west, whatever way the track is longest, and then we go from one end to the other as fast as we can. So
Yep.
Yeah.
So
Sure.
I want to take that because I don't think the new style Ford will quite handle my style of driving. So
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, Anderson builds some pretty clean rides. There's no doubt about that. For sure. Yeah, I'm sure you've seen all the Facebook and the social media. There's a lot of people looking for Vicks for down there. A lot of people.
Yep. And I have everything. I mean, I was gonna take a 74 two-door that I have, but I just I just got it in my head that I want to take a box car, so that's
Yep.
probably what we're gonna take. So I bought one here this last Saturday, but it's pretty rusty, so I'll probably just go find something else or patch this one. I don't know. Just depends on how much work I want to throw at it, but I just want to go have fun. So
For those shows, don't they say more rust the better? The more patching you can do.
yeah, more patching. Yep, you got a lot more work into it, and it'll probably be better once you get it all patched. But
Yeah.
when you pop the hood and you can see the floor or whatever, or pop the trunk and see the floor, it's kind of like,
Yeah, right,
Yeah.
right. Yeah, for sure.
You got to have something to weld to.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
At some point, it needs to make contact. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, that show will be here before you know it. There's all sorts of rumblings. I'm starting to hear of a few different teams that, that weren't announced, like the national ones,
Yep.
that got assembled. So I think it'll be pretty interesting. It looks like Blizzard Bash didn't have an issue filling all their stuff.
Right.
Everything was full. I mean, they're going to that street stock weld as of yesterday, but
Yeah.
I have no doubt in my mind that's going to fill up instantly.
Yeah, for
Oh
sure.
yeah, it will.
I mean,
Yeah,
that's
these
kind of the
bigger shows
build.
are really getting huge support, and that's where I kind of have a hard time understanding, we put out $6,000 for one class, right? And we get like 15 cars to show up, and so the payouts don't even come close to covering what you got into it, and
Right.
the same thing. But like them big shows, they have them filler classes, and I was doing the math on them one time, and the entry fees are $500 more than what they're actually paying out.
Right.
So it's like
Yeah.
Yeah,
it's the joy of running through the tunnel and putting on a show and being out there. So
yeah, it's kind of a ambiance thing for people, and
right,
unfortunately, it kind of hurts us county show guys in a sense because there's a lot of people chasing the big shows, which is all right,
right,
but it
yep,
does hurt our numbers. We see it, because they'll be like, "Oh, we're building for such and such show, this next big show." It's makes it hard for us to
yep.
pull drivers then.
Well, it's really hard for us too because like that caliber of derby car, you can't
Mhm.
just bring to a county fair and expect everybody to want to compete with something like that. So,
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, and
you know,
that's the other truth about North Dakota. There's so many drivers at that caliber. That's why we don't see them either at our local shows because they are running
right.
big shows all
Yeah.
over.
Yeah, and then for us it makes it really difficult to find that line, we want to build a competitive car that works, but we
Right.
don't want to scare everybody away, and then like um I'm having troubles with some local shows that I know of for sure. Like their rules are like 10 rules long, right?
Yeah.
And people will love them and go to them, and all them cars are cheated up, whatever done to them. And the the less people know about the rules, they're all like, "Oh, this is awesome, this is great," and then they go run against cheated up stuff, rather than come and run stuff like ours where there's specific rules you can do X, Y, and Z.
Right.
And
Right.
that's too many. That's too many. You got 3 pages of rules. This is confusing. This is like,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Them like I said, them big shows like that, it's such a, the guys that are building all them big shows and big competitive builds styles and stuff like that, it's not something you throw together in a couple of weeks.
No.
No,
Yeah.
it is not.
They're working on them forever, and damn well some of them guys work on them cars for months and months and months
Yeah.
because they're just that particular and that peculiar about their build, which is great. But at the same time, that takes them out from being able to build a lot of other things to maybe run some of them local shows. So like years ago,
Right.
big shows weren't such a big thing. You did see a lot more local, drivers sticking around. Now you got some guys that do both. Even some of them, a lot of them guys that run big shows will still try and hit a few of their local show, their hometown show, or whatever. But as it seems like as the years go by, there's more and more people that are not running 5, 6 county shows anymore. They're just running like one and then a couple big shows. I'm going to build 2 cars this
Yeah.
year, one big for this big show, that big show, and I'll build one for my hometown show, and that's it.
Right.
Yeah, it's funny that you said 2 weeks because that's kind of the running joke with me. Everybody says I wait till the last minute with everything. So we there's a bet going on with just about everybody that knows me to say that my car won't be done until half an hour before, and here it is, whatever, already these many months out, and they say,
Right.
well, he won't start on it until 2 weeks before, and yada yada yada. So it's kind of funny. I'll have to try to prove them wrong once.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah, that or get in on the betting and then prove them wrong.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Or have the wife put in some money. So you can
There you
make
go.
sure
There you go.
Yeah. Well, she's the head money taker and the head. She started the bet, so I don't know if I'd be able to
Ooh.
sneak it in.
Okay. Okay. Well, we'll for sure be down there watching. I tried to get a spot down there, but as everyone knows, it was near impossible to get a spot.
Yeah, that one filled up real quick there. So
Oh God, yeah. Both the bone stock, the singles and the teams. That was, I don't know. It's almost like if you didn't have 10 people trying to click at the same time for you.
right.
Pretty much impossible.
It should be a good show, though. I think,
Yeah.
I mean, everybody knows Sam from back in the past, and
Right.
and he's, so I think it'll be a fantastic time, and
It's nice for us. It's half the drive, or a quarter of the drive compared to going to Topeka.
right,
I'm kind of
right.
excited about that because we go to Deadwood, which is pretty much rapid all the
Yep.
time, but quite a few times throughout the year. And driving that 3.5, 4 hours beats driving 12 hours.
Yeah.
Yep. It's
Oh,
still about the same for us, real close within a half hour, 45 minutes, but it'll be out there where it's God's country out there, and it'll
Yeah.
be more interesting. So
Yeah, a lot better scenery driving rather than
Yep.
going through Nebraska and going through into
Right.
Kansas. Oh man, that's hard to do sometimes.
Yeah. I
Uh,
remember we have a Prius V or whatever. It's like a station wagon of the Prius. And we were late, and the wife and I just took off, and that thing was at 90 the whole way. Had the cruise set at 90, and the wind was blowing, and I could have swore we almost blew off the road a couple times with that little thing. And they're supposed to get really good gas mileage, but we averaged about 18.7 the whole way down there. So the computer was a little bit off figuring out how to make that work. So
right.
with a 10-gallon tank, we were stopping all the time, it seemed like.
I bet. Well, tell us about your rules a little bit. So I'm assuming you got an array of limited weld, some stock.
I don't have any limited weld. I did as far as the compact goes, I did limited weld and then what I call stock.
Sure.
But it's my last name, Stock, so I can technically say whatever I want.
Yeah.
But I'm as far as both big car and little car goes, I don't want to get them too carried away, and you still have to run that fine line of whether you allow cradles or not. And I want you guys to protect your investment in a way without it helping the car. So you gotta kind of draw that fine line of what you're gonna let them do and what you're not gonna let them do. For instance, I allow 1/4 inch plate across the whole radiator support because these radiators are getting so expensive, and if they want to, they can cut it off and put it on the next car, and
Right.
and stuff like that. And I like the bumper to stay on, any bumper. I would rather you go out and spend $400 or $500 and get a aftermarket or make your own bumper than spend $400 or $500 on a 74.56 Chev bumper
Right.
just to destroy it in a couple heats. And I also allow it. You're allowed to do 6 inches from where the bumper mounts to the frame, just about anything you want to hold that bumper on there.
Sure.
I mean, I don't have a silly rule of how your bolt can get bolted through. As long as it's in that 6 inches, I don't think it really makes no difference whatsoever.
Right. Yeah, no one wants to be picking up parts like that. We don't either.
No, it slows the show down, ruins the show if you're out there picking up stuff. And even with the limited well compacts, I tried them with like a 16-inch bracket, and it worked for a little while, but then the support kind of died off, and then I went to that 6-inch bracket to hold it on, and that seemed to pick up last year. So I kind of went with that, but I also there's always the guys wanting this hobo stock, and I hate it. Like I can't watch it. I can't do nothing. It just
Yeah.
it seems like you're always stopping something to pick something up, and
Yeah.
so I said, well, I'll meet you guys in the middle. Let's just put your 6-inch brackets on there, and then the rest you chain the hood shut. You got no radiator guard and some stuff like that to try to make it simple build, but at least the bumper's gonna stay on for you.
Right.
And so we'll try that. It's a pretty big payout. I call that Compact King, and it's 4,000, 2,000, 1,500 for that. So, and we're gonna try it with the big cars too, to my stock rules, but I'm waiting on the last contract to get that set in stone. But
Sure.
for us, that 4,000, 2,000, whatever is a big payout.
Right.
I
Yeah.
mean, for you guys, it's a average or less, but for
Well,
us,
for
it's pretty
compacts,
big.
it's pretty good.
For
Yeah.
compacts, it's pretty good. Yep.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, for
so we're
sure.
gonna try it. It's like a hobo with a good bumper welded on, and we'll try it and see how that goes.
Sure.
So,
Yeah, we're trying to tone things back too. It was kind of a gradual increase throughout the last 6 years. They got bigger and bigger, harder and harder, and finally got to like the full cradle, full trans brace, and then everyone's like, no, I don't want to do that anymore. So
no,
now
I don't want to do that. So
toned it
then,
way back, and it's trying to get people to buy back in on the stock stuff and just kind of, like you said, meet in the middle, do a few, able to do a few things like some convenience items, like welding the A-arms, a little strap for the A-arms, things like that for convenience, but yet keep it kind of minimal. So
yep,
trying to find the fine line as well and get
right,
people
because
interested again, because who wants to build a big build and keep going all year long?
it goes in stages. I'm sure you guys are used to it, where
Oh,
it
yeah.
gets worse, 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 and then you got to just kind of hip. We're toning it back down and
Yeah. Someone
stuff. When I
always
first
wants more.
when I first started in 16, it was kind of everybody wanted that limited weld, with cradles and all that stuff, and then it just, everything's gotten a lot more expensive in the last few years, even car wise,
Right.
so I kind of I like to meet it in the middle. I want your car to still bend, but at least you're going to be able to hold X, Y, and Z together. You got your good, I'm allowing you to put some aftermarket tie rods and all that stuff in, aftermarket ball joints to kind of keep your main components together.
Right.
And I allow really big A-arm straps that have to go to the A-arm, because I mean, this A-arm stuff, and going to pay 200-300 bucks for a set of A-arms, or even if you buy them new online, it's expensive. So the way I have it, you can cut it off and put it on the next car, and it's not mangled all the heck, 90% of the time. But
Right.
also, where we are, there's not the precision drivers that you guys deal with. They're not picking your car apart
Right.
like you guys have. We're more or less go north and south and put on a show. We don't if anybody wins around here, it's just a smile on the face. It's not because we had a 45-minute heat and everybody's picking each other apart type of deal.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. It's yeah, you can't knock them. There's a lot of people that try to knock them. Everyone knows
Oh
when they
yeah, for
go to the
sure.
arena
Just
who's
Yep.
going to be the drivers at the end of the day, and
Oh yeah. Yep.
they're the ones that are
Absolutely.
doing it almost as a full-time job. I mean, that's a
Yep.
joke, but they're doing it constantly, and you
Yeah.
can't knock them for being good.
It's just a different
No,
style of driving
absolutely
out
can't.
here, We only have so many drivers, and we're only getting so many new drivers into the sport, by the numbers. So these newer
Yeah.
guys coming in, or the younger people coming in, are only been doing it for so many years. The people they're watching are all like meticulous drivers. I mean, for pretty much any North Dakota
Oh
show you
yeah.
go to, you might have one guy out there that just says F it and just rides a skinny pedal the whole time. But for the most part,
Yep.
pretty much any North Dakota show you go watch, everybody's out there thinking,
Yeah.
Yep.
The
But it's
new
just
guys
like
are,
even back here, when one of your North Dakota guys comes by, he knows he's gonna sit in his part of the track and let all you guys do your own thing until it gets done, and then I'll start doing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
We're heading out. Well, I'll be a little past your direction, but we're heading out to Minnesota here in May for John's show. So we'll be
sure.
out.
Yep, we'll be going right by or whatever.
Yep.
I'm sure I'm sure we'll go down there and watch. So
Yeah.
at least one day anyway.
Yeah, it sounds like, well, I don't know for sure, but I think he's got almost all of his classes full, if not pretty close to it.
Yeah, I would assume so. And it was a pretty good show last year when he had it in Jim Falls. He moved
Yeah.
it now to Cannon Falls. So it should help a little bit, you know. Hopefully he gets enough grandstands around there to make it all work, because I don't know if you guys remember that track, but the grandstands for the spectators or whatever, more or less, is quite a ways away from the arena. And
Oh,
then the pit side is real close, so it's kind of nice that way. So
sure.
Never been out there. Never ran out there anyway.
yeah,
I don't even remember the
Tick's
town
used
we're
to-
staying in, to be honest. I know it's not Cannon Falls, it's some other town.
yeah, Tix used to have the show there too. That Minnesota Throwdown was ran there, and then he moved it to Farmington there. So,
Sure.
but yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I think it'll be a good derby. I've got we've got some plans in the books, or we're trying to work something out. I'm a Shriner too. I raise money for the children's hospitals and stuff like that, and we're actually working on a derby for next year. We're gonna probably have it in the spring, and it'll be a 2-man derby, and it'll probably be about 10,000 to win. So
Mhm.
we're working on the details, and once we get that all finished up, we'll put that out. But it'll be a next year, next spring type of deal. Probably, I'm thinking the weekend before Memorial Day weekend. So, but it should be fun, you know. All that new stuff for us is kind of exciting around here.
Yeah, yeah.
What I
You
know a lot
ever,
of guys talk about it and stuff like that, and they want to do it, but that's just the deal is when you put stuff like this together that you need the driver support to be able to continue to do it. So,
Yeah. Sometimes I think they forget that. They
right, yep,
pick and
that's
choose
the
shows, and then it's like, well, if you don't show up this year, it's highly likely the venue won't want us back next year, and it's over with.
right.
you know,
So,
we see that with certain classes. Some of these especially some of these filler classes, they're not just some, but I mean classes in general. The last couple of years, kind of across North Dakota, numbers kind of fell down quite a bit in one area or another, and all over the state. And some are coming back. Some guys took some time off or whatever. But as far as the venues go, as far as the venues concerned, if they're putting all this money up there and then nobody shows up, it's hard for them to recover
right.
and do it again, because then they're just like, no, we don't want that class because last year only X showed up,
Right.
or
Yep.
whatever. It's
Or
well,
like you guys, I mean, you guys promote too, so that's the hardest part is like when you hear all these guys saying we want this class, you know, so then you go and talk to the fair boards and work it out and try to get that show, and then and you get it, and then 3 cars show up, like this is
yeah,
the car, this is the class you guys asked for, this is the rules you asked for, and then you got 3 cars. So
yeah,
Yeah. Oh, 100%. And you feel like super disappointed, especially for the venue itself, because you more or less made huge promises because you had all the talk and
yeah,
all the keyboarding behind it, but no
yeah.
one put it to action.
Yeah, just like this bumper swap deal that I got that's 4,000, 2,000. I've had registration up for a week, and there's 4 cars that is pre-registered for it. So,
Yeah.
I
yep.
mean, yeah, we're a ways out, but 4 cars. So I'd like to see a little bit more interest in it than that. So,
Is that front wheel drive only?
yes, front wheel drive compacts only. So, no, you can run a rear wheel drive, but it's got to be under 108 wheelbase, and then
That's fine.
V6
That's fine.
or under. So,
Mhm.
but it should be pretty fun. I mean, let's just see what happens,
Yeah.
get the support, and if we get, but the place that we're putting it on actually is Long Prairie, Minnesota, and they've been really, really good to work with. As far as getting money, I mean, I do have it in my contract that 10%, a minimum of 10% of whatever they make off the grandstand, say say they make $8,000 off the grandstand event, then we get at least 800, so you get 10% added back to the payout for the following year. So that just keeps everything progressing and moving forward. And say for instance, Long Prairie, Minnesota, when we first started, I believe the total payout for the show was $9,200 or 9,000, right in there, and we're 200 shy of 17,000 for that 1 day show this
Sure.
year. So it's been doing really well, and they've been doing improvements to the track, and it's just getting people to stand behind you and you want to put a good product on the track so that people keep coming back, and that's where we get our money on our side, and even for you guys, you might get a little bit more sponsorship money than we do, but it means a lot more to have more people on the track and put on a good show for your sponsors to get their name out there and all that stuff. So
absolutely. And like, that the grand scheme of things, at the end of the day, if the numbers aren't there and certain classes drop off, then that venue isn't going to want to bring it back.
right.
Yeah.
But it's a team effort from everybody, like the fair board, us promoters, sponsors, or people watching, people
Right.
participating in it. It takes everybody to make this work. It's just, on the promoter side, it's just, if things go good, we get a little bit of credit, and if they go bad, we get all of the credit. So
Yeah.
it's a
100%.
fun line to try to do, so
Yeah.
but I enjoy it, for the most part. I enjoy it. Yeah, there's some stuff every once in a while, but I do enjoy it, and I like we like putting on these shows for these fans and drivers, because it's almost like a family. A lot of these guys around here, they do everything is derby involved, and like last year we put on a party at the end of the year, and we paid for the food, and they got their own rooms at the hotel, and we had a banquet room and all that stuff, and gave away some random parts and awards to people, and that was for our point series. But like my wife said, it's just, all these people come together, it's like a family, and enjoying everything, and it really was good for everybody to sit there at the end of the year and just unwind and
Right.
BS about the season and tell jokes and stuff like that. So
Right, for sure. Yeah, it's actually pretty often anymore where a driver, he'll call to not even talk about the shows. He just wants to bullshit, more or less. He just calls the
right,
talk, calls the chat. Pretty close friends with a lot of them.
right.
Or you could
Well,
consider,
you know what it's like.
yeah,
You're almost like a counselor sometimes, helping these people, and then they call with builds, and it's like,
yep, yeah,
Yeah,
for
like,
sure.
and then usually like you're laying in bed, or like me, I'm on the road, and they'll call at like 2 o'clock in the morning, just tuned up, how about I weld this here? I'm gonna do this, and it's just like, yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, for sure.
So,
Yeah, there's always those few that run their mouth, but at the end of the day, they're usually pretty pretty easy to work
oh
with.
yeah, they're all good people. We all,
yeah.
for the most part, everybody wants the same thing and wants to enjoy the sport and have a
Yeah,
good time. So,
At the end of the day, we've all been
it's
there. You're at the show. Drivers'
yep,
emotions are high, tensions are high. People get mad.
yeah,
It's a sport. It wouldn't
yeah.
be.
If I could say how many times I've got a phone call the day after or the night after, a couple days after a show, hey man, I'm so sorry about that. I was just so
yeah,
wound up, or my emotions got the best of me. It's like, I get it. Anymore.
I've
Yeah.
been the guy yelling from my car at a fucking promoter before. So like,
yeah.
I've been that guy.
And it's not, and I'm even on a promoter side, you're not perfect. You're never gonna,
No.
It'll never
you're not
happen.
gonna make the right call every time. You're gonna see something different or whatever, and it's just it just happens. We're only human, and I know for me, um, I have a hard time because I like to try to tech everything myself, and even when you're staring at everything yourself, it's you don't see everything, and
You never will.
you know, some of the stupidest, simplest things could fly right by, you know, all the time,
Right.
and you can only do so much, and then you rely on everybody else, and it gets to be tough sometimes, you know, because all of that falls back on the guy in charge, you know. I don't know if, I mean, you guys promote, but it's kind of your two things, you know, like on my promoting side, everything starts here, falls here, everything, you know, from getting the show together or getting sponsors or whatever, it all falls here. So,
Right.
Yeah.
but you know, I my wife does quite a bit of the behind the scenes stuff, and then um with the insurance stuff, and I know that's a struggle too. Like we sat 2 hours today talking with insurance and stuff like that, and what's the right thing to do, because yeah, you got your hired guys that come there volunteering, you know, but we, you
Yep.
know, now that we're getting something, we like to pay our guys, you know, because they got fuel or whatever into it. Okay, so now you're a paid person. Do we go through all the work, W-9 them and going through payroll, or do we give them a 1099 and then, you know, want to make sure they're covered if something were to happen? And it's just all of that stuff you're trying to think of, worst case scenario, because, you know, for instance, I'm sure you guys know I was in a bad accident last February, and I
Yep.
spent the whole summer, you know, out of work. You know, I didn't work till October. So I don't want to lay the guys on that helping me on with all these expenses of whatnot, or if something were to happen, you know, because you never know if something, a car is gonna go out of hand or whatever and run
Right.
somebody over, and maybe it's one of your guys, you know. What do you do then? You know, you can't just call it, well, you signed that piece of paper and when you walked in that said that we're not liable for anything, you know. So yeah, it's just, it's weird, you know. You got to run through all these scenarios and make sure everybody's taken care of, you know, because I know what it's like. I've been through it. So
Yeah, the insurance part is always there's so many behind the scenes stuff that I think a lot of people don't understand. And there's some days I wish they could sit in our shoes just for a little bit to know what is actually all going on
oh
behind
yeah,
the scenes.
absolutely. Yeah, for
Because
instance, I had another promoter that's pretty local. He's all like, "Hey, dude, so and so wants me to sign a contract. Have you ever signed a contract?" And I was like, "Yeah,
Yep.
like since 2017, I've been doing contracts." And I says, "Why are you signing a contract of theirs? You should have your own contract of what's going on." And he's all like, "Well, what's that all say?" So I sent him over our contract. It's, you know, it's still pretty small, but there's a lot of technical stuff on there that you're going through. And he's all like, "Oh, I had no idea all this stuff was going on." And I was like, "Yeah, you have to do this, you know, you have
Yeah.
to cover your bases."
it's a big thing for us too when we started. It wasn't even from the legal perspective. It was so everyone knows their duties the day of the show.
Yep,
Correct.
yep,
So someone can't come back and say, well, why wasn't this done? And say, well, go look at the contract. You were supposed to do that. That's kind of the
correct.
biggest one for us.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
It
then
all boils down to wanting to be able to put on the best show, you know, like we don't
yeah,
want
absolutely.
something to fall short and then wonder who was supposed to take care of it,
Yep.
you
Yep.
know?
Yeah. And you know, whatever, I'm not afraid to say it, like Long Prairie, we did a winter show this winter, and last winter we put it on, and I agreed to 10%. Once it's all said and done, you know, I get 10% of what you make and whatever. We'll try it. And I says, my feeling is we're probably gonna lose about 5 grand beans it's the first year or whatever. But I says, we gotta start somewhere and try it and
Right.
put these things on. And we had really good show last year. They actually, whatever, after my 10%, it was like I got 570 some bucks is what I got, but I paid all my guys off of that. You know, I had already paid them above and beyond, so I was out. Whatever, I lost money on the deal, but that's fine. I'm doing it for the guys and all that stuff. And then now this year we were down, and we actually both, the Fairboard and I, lost a couple $1,000. But it's just, you know, the hardest part was after that is all the guys are all like, "Oh, it wasn't a good show," and blah blah blah. And it's all like, dude, we put our heart and soul into this thing, and
Right.
it just didn't work. But I'll do it again if I have to and make it work, So it's just, maybe we slacked off on a couple things we should have done better at advertising or something, we just learn and grow from it and get people to support it, and we had bad weather a little bit in the area, so 10 to 15 guys didn't come, and just because it was cold, but that's your make it break it point. That's right where that's how fine this line is. And then, it was 10 degrees warmer this year than it was last year, but we didn't have near the people in the stands. So,
Right.
Was that due to that it warmed up so everybody wants to go out and do something, or, you don't know how it all plays out,
Yeah,
There's a
it's
lot of variables in it,
for sure. For sure. And
so.
some of our shows will get good car counts, and the shows you would absolutely think we're gonna get no cars. So there's really no rhyme or reason.
Yep.
It's like
Right. Well, let's take Winterstone, for instance. They started it, and I remember going back there in the very first few years, and there wasn't hardly anybody there, nobody in the crowd,
yep.
nothing. And then they moved it to that bigger venue, and I think there were 6,000 people there, so.
I'm pretty sure it was 6,000 or so. I remember that. And
Yep.
I mean it was bleachers were full, the beer tents were
Full.
full, that
Yep.
hall on the side was full because it was cold out. People were watching it on the TV in there. I mean, it was a big
Yep.
derby. I mean, it was like top 5 shows. One of the
Right.
games.
Yeah. It turned into that iconic derby, that everybody wanted to get to, and that's where my goal is, or I'm sure your guys' goal is, to at least make one of those iconic derbies where people want to be there just to be there, be part of the experience,
Yep.
So,
Yeah. And it was, I brought 2 cars
yeah,
actually. It was all it was cracked up to be. Yeah, it
yeah,
was whatever. I think 4, was it -2 or 4 degrees that morning we woke up, everyone's out in the pits, can't get their cars started. It went with the show, so it was kind of cool, but it was one of those shows.
yeah.
Looks like they're
And
trying to
that's what
bring it
everybody
back.
tries to achieve, tries to bring to your area so everybody can watch it, and it's all about the experience of getting to do it. And I
Right.
know, um um even we got a media guy that follows us now and films a lot of our shows, and he's done a really really good job this year. This is his first year, and he followed me through every show, and
Sure.
him and I talk back and forth about ideas on how to do this and how to do this and stuff better, and just getting things to take off. And he's kind of getting in the right direction. He's getting more followers and stuff like that, and all this little things help, to get your
Oh yeah.
product out there to people. And
Yep.
you guys know the game, you trying to get it out there so that everybody says, hey, this is cool, let's go do
Yep.
this. So
Are you talking about High Octane?
yeah, High Octane Media. So
Sure.
yeah,
For
they're
sure.
pretty good people. They do a really good job. It's kind of funny. He used to do like in enduros and stuff like that, and then he snuck into one of my buddy's derbies and just recorded from the stands. And then he's all like, hey, you want to do this or whatever? Why don't you do this? And then he's all like, well, why don't you talk to this guy? He does quite a bit of shows. And he come down here and he just couldn't believe what was going on. So,
Yeah. Well, we'll see. We
he's
uh
having fun.
we used to live stream everything, but I think
Yep.
this year we hired a video guy, so we'll see how it turns out, I guess.
Yep. Yeah, it helps doing that little thing,
Who doesn't want to see a high
all that stuff.
production video of their derby afterwards?
Right.
Everybody.
Right.
Who's
Yep.
if they were at that show, in it or at it, they're after the show. There's always someone saying, "Did someone video that?"
Yeah, I was just gonna say, you've been ran the show before, and afterwards, you're like, did anybody get a video of that? Who got the
Yep.
video? You're
Hmm.
chasing leads around, trying to find messaging random people. Yeah,
Yep. But my mom used to film all of them, or whatever. And then every time I was out there, not the whole derby, but every time I was out there, and she'd be filming it, and then all of a sudden the camera would go off up here in the
Oh yeah,
yeah,
trees or whatever. Wow! It's
yeah.
like, yeah, I
yeah.
didn't see
The
that.
very first derby I was in, my mom videoed. and
Yep.
you know, she claimed she didn't get to watch the Derby because she was videoing, and whatever. We got home next day, obviously want to watch the Derby, you know,
Yep.
and she never hit record. So I have a similar scenario. She tried recording, bless her heart, but
Yep.
I do wish I had the footage to this day, but I do not.
Yep. Because well, for instance, like a lot of his videos only see like 1,000, 2,000 people views or whatever, and that's still pretty good, you know, that
Oh
everybody
yeah.
gets to view it. And then we had that points championship that I told you about, that we had that after party and stuff like that.
Mhm.
We had a show in that was in Otters Hill, and all these people came, and um there was 118 cars total that we had.
Oh wow.
So it was a pretty good show, and it was just a cleanup deal for me. I didn't have high payouts or nothing. You know, I used everything. I I think I paid $500 per heat, and then everything that all the drivers paid in, I gave it all back per heat. You know, so if there's 10 of them in the heat, then all that money went back to them towards a payout. So it wasn't even high payouts, but that video now it hit some sort of algorithm so that once one derby gets watched, then it hits this one, and that thing's had 140,000 views on that one particular video. So
Yeah, it's
he's
awesome.
pretty pumped about that, to get, you know, that kind of exposure out. You know,
Sure.
he he actually stayed at our place one time. Oh, for Blizzard Bash, we had him down for Blizzard Bash, and we fed him and all sorts of stuff. And then some of my family come over, and he's going through stuff, and he's talking about how this video on his phone. He's all like, "Well, it's not as good quality as like what I put on the internet." And I saw like, "Dude, I can't tell the difference." And then he
Yeah.
kept saying low quality, low quality. So I actually call him low quality. It's not high octane medium. I just call him low quality. So it's kind of stuck.
That's
Yeah.
funny.
We can sit around and act like we know what the hell they're talking about, but them guys
Right,
that
yeah,
put into
dude,
that
I
video,
have
I got no idea.
yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
It's just like my brother-in-law. We actually just bought a computer to start doing our own logos and graphic designing and stuff like that, because we're kind of fussy people in a way, you know, and we want everything to look pretty nice. So, and we just want to do things different, and it'll help with our ads and all that stuff. And we want to do everything ourselves. So we bought this program, and my brother-in-law is like a computer nerd. Like, he set the whole thing up, and he's all like, "Oh, it's got this many gigs of this and blah 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 blah." And I says, "Dude, is it gonna work for this program or not?"
Yeah.
That's all I
And
need.
he's like, "Oh yeah." He says, "Oh, you can put this on there." And then my wife is a interior designer for houses and stuff like that, and
Mhm.
he's all like, "Yeah, we can put that program on here." And I says, "No, this is derby stuff. Stays on this computer, and nothing else goes on there."
Yeah.
Because I know how that works. There's files everywhere, and I get on here to do my thing, and it's just like I have to yell at my wife, "Well, where'd that go?" You know, and I have no
Yeah,
idea. I'm looking for it. I said, "This one is just derby stuff. There's nothing else going on there, just derby stuff."
Yeah.
So,
for sure. Yeah, the media space is a whole nother world within the Derby. So within the
oh yeah,
Derby.
and getting you know, all that stuff done, and doing your advertising right, so people, you know, you can build the coolest ad and have the date, like the biggest thing, the time, everything, the biggest thing on that flyer, and there'll be 100 people asking, you know, what time, what date,
Where's it
and where
at?
it's at.
Yeah.
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 It's always.
Yeah.
I don't see the date on here. Well, you obviously didn't look at it. It's like I don't
Well,
know.
somebody asked me, it literally said July 14th, 7 p.m. And then they text me, what time? I know the date, what time? Well, it says like just finish,
Yeah.
but it's funny, you know, you get a kick out of it.
You can only you try to get as much info as possible on them damn things, but there's never enough room.
No, and then you don't want to blotch it up to where it
Yeah.
says everything, you know.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
You know,
I mean,
we actually go back and forth with that with Nevada, the 22 GFX. He does a lot of our work stuff and does phenomenal work. But we're always like, hey, can you add this? What about putting that
yeah,
on there? What about? He's like, it's too much.
I got all
Like,
my flyers saved on one deal, and I go back to some of the old ones I made, and it's just like, who put this together? I don't understand how. And then my frustrating part is I try to put I try to make sure certain things are on there,
Yeah.
and there's some derbies where I'll look at their flyer and it's all like, where are you at? Where do I find the rules? And there's none of that stuff on there. So I don't know how these people go on there and find out what's going on. Like, you really have to dig. And I think it's pretty easy for someone to go on to my deal and look and find the rules and all that stuff. I mean, maybe it's not perfect, or maybe it's a little bit easier for me, but there's some of these where like I'm trying to find stuff and I can't find nothing. Like,
Yeah.
no clue where you're at, what's going on.
I don't know. Sometimes you make it too easy and I don't know. It's still,
for sure. Yep.
There's always going to be that one guy.
yeah.
Yep.
Sometimes too.
Yeah.
But
I mean,
it's fun.
in the same sense though, I've been that guy too. Hey, what time's that show start?
Yep.
Look at the flyer. I did.
Right.
Oh, even about our own flyers.
Yeah.
Like, hey, we should, pops up in an email. Here's the proof of it. We should probably add this. And it's like, go back and look at it again.
Yeah.
Oh, yep, it's on there.
Yep.
Yeah, or you get it and you put it out there and it's all like, well, why didn't we put this on there?
Yeah.
Like, I thought it was on there. I guess it's not on there, So
You could have the most perfect poster. You could have 10 of them and nobody will say a word about the posters. You put one poster out that has one, flaw on it. It doesn't have a town, it doesn't have a
detail
name.
missing. Yeah.
You'll have 100 comments. It's like that's
Yep.
almost a given anymore.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you guys speaking of time and starting, do you guys have an issue with people, like, let's say the derby starts at 3, do you have people showing up at 2:30 all the time, or
I mean,
is it pretty good
spectators
for you
or
guys?
drivers?
Drivers.
Yeah.
Drivers. Yeah.
Yeah, we
Not
always
to
try
say
to
it's a
start
big
at
problem,
early.
but
Yeah.
there's just always
Something.
if I show up super late right before the end of tech, they're gonna rush through teching my car, and maybe I'll get lucky.
Yeah, that's
Yep.
why we went with our more basic rules. We went with you only get an hour for retech, because realistically, if you're doing more than like having more than an hour's worth of work, you probably went way above and beyond the rules. So that's
Right.
the route we went. So meaning they should at least be there an hour before the show. So in case
Yep.
their car is that way, but
So generally our tech time ends an hour before the show starts. So if you show up at 11:30, show starts at 1.
Yep.
Our tech runs from 9 to noon, show starts at 1. So if you push the limits and show up at the last minute and have some things you need to fix, it's kind of going to be nobody's fault but
Yep.
your own, that you're not ready at showtime. And I mean, we haven't really had a problem with it of having to go, too crazy with anybody, but some guys just interpret certain rules different. There's always that room. But,
Yeah, but I like to start. That's my biggest deal, is starting on time. Like, if the derby starts at 1, I want to start at 1. Like,
Yep,
the derby,
100%.
something should be going on, because it's the hard. That's everybody chatters. Why is the derby not starting? If you're like 5 minutes late, it's not like we're working on it. Like, just for instance, the contract. Like, we have most of our fares, they collect the money, they get the payouts or all that stuff. But if by X amount of time you're not there to take that money, it slows our whole show down. And then they're all like, well, there's only like 3-4 people or whatever here at that time. It doesn't matter. If I want you here at this time teching, so I can get these cars teched and get it underway, anytime after that, you're just slowing everything up. I want to get this stuff going, because and there is a show like Benton County or somebody like that does, if you show up after such and such time, you have to pay another $20 or something. So we're gonna try that this year to see if we can get people to show up a little bit earlier and stuff like that. That all goes to the promoter after that. So if any money we get after that, it's gonna go to some guy that was there first or something. try something like that to try and get them there on time, because we even have we have a builders class where you're pretty much allowed to do whatever you want, almost like your old mods used to be type of deal.
Yeah.
And
Right.
they'll show up, like if the show starts at 1, they'll be there at 12:50 or something, so it's not like, come on guys, let's go.
Yeah.
Let's get here. So
Yeah.
I mean, you don't have to do much besides look at a couple things, height, and put a
Right.
stick on them. So
Yeah. Yeah. No, and then during the show too, you got in between the heats, you're trying to get the next set of cars ready to go, whatever. And you
lined
got
up,
one
yeah.
guy who's still working on his car back here, and it's not, none of that is ever going to be intentional. Like, oh, I'm delaying the show, but the guy's just, he's working, right?
Yep.
You're not caring about the time. You're like, I'm going to work until somebody comes and yells at me, basically.
Yep.
Yeah.
Like tonight, we had this scheduled, and I completely right over my head. I'm out there welding the cage in the car, and Mitchell calls me, "Hey, did you get the email for the pod?" I'm like, "Yep." All right, let's run upstairs.
Well, it's just it for like autocross or whatever. That's the hardest part, is getting those guys in their spot, because like we used to just say, "Yep, you were in heat 1, and we're taking 6 of you." So then they would hurry up and get in line one after another, because then that's what would be their lineup spot.
Right.
We didn't go into whatever your pole or whatever. So now we do ticket draws, and it's all like, say you get a 1-1 or a 1-2. 1-1, you're on the inside pole. 1-2, you're outside, and then so on, back and forth, and it goes like that. And somebody will get like a 1-3, or, well, where do I line up? So then we write it on there where they line up on the map. And not only are they not there for heat 1, but they get in the deal and they pull up like third one back or whatever, or they don't know where they line up. Like, dude, you're 1-3, you're right behind that guy, and it's just like, come on, figure this out. And sometimes we'll spend like 2-3 minutes, it seems like an hour, getting cars lined up, and it's like, come on, let's put some of this on your shoulders where you know where you're going.
Yeah.
Or like my whole deal is like, when cars pull into the grandstands, right? They all nose into the grandstands no matter what. There's no question about it. And you'll get some guy that backs in or something, and it's, you got to stop and turn everybody around and get them all facing the right direction. Or you'll have somebody that wants to park over in this corner when everybody else is lined up. It's like, and I've done this from day one, because I'm anal about that. Like, you have to line up that way, because it's just the fairest way to do things.
Yeah.
Everybody has to back up when they get off the wall or whatever.
Right.
That type of stuff.
Yeah, people do crazy stuff. That's for sure. For sure.
But what do you guys got lined up? Quite a few shows. I seen quite a few of your flyers. You got some bigger ones going on this year.
Yeah, we got 8 derbies and 2 car shows, so it's kind of the all the summer. Our I don't know, our car show, we started from the beginning along with our derbies. That's something we've been kind of one of our pieces of our pride and joy, along with our derbies, but it's got a different feel to it. You don't have the teching and all that. So I don't know. It's maybe a little more relaxing.
Definitely a lot more relaxing.
Yeah.
I mean, you're
Everybody
still
gets
busy.
to enjoy each other's stuff. You guys get a bunch of derby cars showing up at those, like I've seen on TV when they take pictures of all these derby cars at the car shows and stuff like that.
No, we haven't got one yet.
No. No, it'd probably be interesting if somebody did bring a nice build car, though. Even like
a high quality, like a Blizzard Bash build would be super sweet to have.
Yeah.
I mean, a lot of people see.
A lot of people be blown away. Even not that, even like a limited weld car. I mean, shit, even a stock car. The stock built car, like say our rules. There'd be a lot of people that maybe have never been to it or before, look at that and go, "What in the hell is this?"
Yeah, and then I want to go watch that, or or whatever. I want to watch and see what it looks like or whatever.
I think last year was one of those legend cars. Is that what they're called?
Yeah, legend. Yeah, got about a legend car. Same deal there. A lot of people were like, "What is this?"
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
Little race car, basically. But yeah, that one got all too. Like we had some mud pickups come to the car show.
Yeah, that's right.
car show was great. Like last year or the year before was our first year. We did, we had 87 entries the first year. And then
Yeah,
last
that's pretty
year
cool.
we had 107 or 117.
107, yeah.
107 last year. But there's another thing too where, we're in a small town, that's held in Glenelg, North Dakota. Um, the support from the community has grown. Like the first year, businesses, the community stuff,
It was
they're like,
shaky.
well, we don't
Right, yeah.
know if we want to support it. And then, we had 87 cars and, I mean, even us, we were like, if we get 30, we'll be happy,
Yeah.
trying to grow something out of nothing here. And then we had all that. And then the next year it was different. Now, this year coming up, we're doing all the fundraising and stuff for that, trying to, get the community's involvement to raise money to where we can afford to, bring in a DJ, we can afford to get the radio involved and all this sort, and advertise stuff like that. And this year, now year 3 going into it, we've got businesses and stuff from towns 40 miles away that are like, hey, we had a good time when we went last year, we'd like to support you. So it's good.
Yep.
It's been real good.
That really helps you
really
get a good
show.
product. Get a good product for them to want to stand behind. That's the main
Yeah.
thing. So
Yeah. It showed itself because the first year we called people and they're all like, we told them the name of the car show and yada yada, and everyone's like, eh. We had a lot of people were like, nah, no, we'll pass. And then the second year, it's like, oh, they kind of were still on the fence, but hopped in. And then, my opinion, last year was a pretty awesome year. And now this year, I don't know, we haven't really had anyone say no. And they're all like, yeah, last year was awesome. And yeah, it trickled out to the outside towns now, and they're all supporting.
Yeah.
It's fun.
What got you guys into promoting then? Or? I mean, you guys ask everybody else. Has anybody asked?
Yeah, we do. I know. I mean, to be honest with you, it was
On a whim, maybe.
it was really basically it was a kind of a beer conversation. To be honest with you, we both kind of talked about how, again, this is 3 years ago. Some shows were kind of like, oh, we're not going to have a show anymore. This show's not going to have, not going to have one anymore. And we're like, shit, that sucks. Well, what if we threw something together and tried to help out? Tried to do a little promoting, try and keep some of these, things together, especially from like the bigger picture. From being a driver, like what are some things you want to see, right? You want to see multiple shows with the same set of rules.
Yep.
Right. That's probably number one that you see is guys going like, I hate building for that, and then I got to build 4 different cars within 50 miles of my house. That sucks.
Yep.
Like, well, we can try and incorporate some of the things that we've thought, and at the other token too is a lot of the shows, these small town shows, they've been ran by the same people for 10, 15, 20 years. And some of those people were just tired of doing it. And we're like, we're not going to have a show anymore because the guy that's been doing it doesn't want to do it anymore. We don't have anybody that really is interested in kind of stepping in. So that was part of it. We just said, well, let's see. And then, just kind of reached out a few different people, and it ended up working out. And last year, the first year we only ran 2 shows. Last year we ran 3, and now coming up with this year, we've kind of reached out to a few places. We had a few places reach out to us, and now this year we're going in with 8, which is plenty.
Yeah, makes it better for our point series though. Maybe a little more
absolutely
participating. Yeah, you got more places to run, more points to build. Or if you miss a show, you might have room to catch up and catch another guy in the points or something.
Yeah. Yeah, we had a point series last year, which really helped for drivers, get them more interested into other things and stuff like that. So it's just about everything I do counts towards your points. It's just obviously the derby portion counts more towards your points, but we have the autocross, you can gain points that way, or we even have a lawnmower derby for some of the people. So we have a point series that way that helps them get back into it or whatever. So the idea is, rather than having 3-4 lawnmowers out there, maybe get 5-10, and then get some of your people that are trying to chase points, which are usually some of the bigger name guys out there in a lawnmower, and at least laugh a little bit and giggle a little bit, because when I first started it, there was a couple other shows that started at the lawnmower. So I guess I can't really say that 2008 was the last time I was in a derby, because I was in a lawnmower once just for fun. And it was funny because it's actually a tech, right? So we go through tech, and the guy says, well, you can't have this, and you can't have this, and you can't have this. And then I was like, well, why not? And then he says, well, it says right in the rules here or whatever. And then I said, well, what's the name on the bottom of that set of rules? And he's all like, Full Arena Promotions, Josh Stock. And I said, well, I'm Josh Stock, and that's my company. Those are my rules or whatever. And he's like, oh, well, you're probably good then. So,
Yeah. Yeah.
so that was kind of whatever. I more or less, like some of the lawnmower guys out there, they're just out there all serious, wanting to win or whatever. And I'm just more of a hitting them, and then I'll whap them upside the head with my stuff like that, or
Yeah.
out there bouncing around, just trying to be funny, and whatever. I don't care if I win or whatever. And it's a funny story because this guy wanted to come to these lawnmowers all the time, and he always brought something that had issues, right? Like the first derby we had it at, the approach to get in was steep, and it's long. So he was going up there, and his strap broke. The lawnmower goes rolling down the hill and snaps the wheel off, and then he's all like, and don't have nothing. So then the next time he comes and he goes out in the arena and he gets one hit and his belt snaps, and then the next time he comes back and the transmission went out or front wheel fell off or something, just always, every time, always something. And he's all like, I got like 700 and some dollars into this just this week doing this. And I said, what, how are you spending this kind of money?
Yeah.
And this lawnmower that I bought, I got it given to me by somebody. I spent 4 hours out in the shop doing some stuff to it, and that's it. Nothing else done to it. And that thing, I was paying pretty good, like $300 for people to win. And sometimes I would just let somebody from the stands do it or something, and that lawnmower that I built won several times. Like,
Yeah.
I think it was like 1,800 and some dollars under the one lawnmower, and I had done nothing to it. I put gas in it, and this guy, he's all like, I gotta have that lawnmower. You want to sell it? And I said, well, I kind of like to keep it so I can let people else get into it. And he's all like, I'll buy it. And then I said, well, I had $200 into the whole thing after all, whatever. I said, you give me the $200, you can have it. So, and he's all like, well, I can't get it this derby, but next derby I'll have it, So then he comes there, and the entry fee is $20 because that's your pit pass or whatever. That's all it costs to come in there. And he comes in there, and he's all like, I only got $180 because I had to pay $20 for my entry fee. I forgot all about that. Can I still have it? And I says, yeah, you can have it. And then he won the first time, right? And he was just, man alive. His face was so lit up, and he was smiling, and it was just his thing. And then he never won again after that because he was always tinkering with it or doing something. He added a hand throttle. Like, I always put it wide open, and we went hydrostat back and forth, but he had to have a hand throttle on there. He was out there, brum, 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 brum. And I was like, yeah, whatever, dude. And then the hand throttle was literally welded on there, and he made one hit, and he pulled on it and ripped it down, so he had it in his hand trying to. But I was like, dude, just stop touching it. Put it back to the way it was, and just keep winning money,
Right.
So
Right,
it's kind of funny, like you go through the experiences and the emotional roller coaster with some of these guys that are trying to enjoy it and stuff. It is fun.
Right.
So
Awesome. Well, that's all I have for you. I appreciate you coming on tonight.
yeah, no problem.
Sure.
So anytime you guys have a good time and get back to your car building, and I'll try to do the same, I suppose.
Yeah, you probably should get started. You come out to Memorial, I'll stop down there.
Yeah, well,
I will. So
we'll be there for sure.
So.
All right. Well, thanks for hopping on again, and hopefully see you in the future.
Yep. You guys take care. Have a good one.
See you, Jeff.